Hi, I'm Sashko, and today I'm going to talk to Slava about his experience interning at Meteor for the summer. So Slava was pretty different from the other interns because he actually worked at Meteor full-time before he was an intern, so it's kind of funny. How did you find out about Meteor back in the day?
Yeah, so I first heard about Meteor in 2012. I saw it on Hacker News multiple times, and my friends recommended me to try it out on the weekend. So I tried it out and built surprisingly a to-do app, not following a tutorial, just completely from scratch. And I remember it was a really great experience. I was mind blown how easy everything was and how magical it was. So I got interested in it. And later, when I was looking for a job, I applied to Meteor.
Nice. And how was it when you came back for internship?
So coming back for internship was really different because I just experienced my first year at college, right? And definitely I learned a lot in college and was ready to apply it. And also I was excited to come back to this work environment, which I'm really used to. And it's a really comfortable place where I can work in my own pace and everyone is so supportive to help me.
Wow, that's very cool. So what did you end up working on?
Yeah, so I ended up working on multiple things. First, I worked on parts of the commercial product called Optics. This is a product for GraphQL instrumentation for the servers. Later, I switched to working on open source project, specifically Apollo Client. And I worked on multiple features prior to launch of Apollo Client as 1.0.
Nice. And what were the features you worked on?
So I worked on like multiple features and bug fixes, but the two main features were Mutations and Optimistic UI, and the second one was Pagination. Also, I was involved in writing a lot of documentation, marketing materials, and blog posts about it. And yeah, overall, those were two main features.
And how was so? I think back when we worked together at Meteor full time, you also really liked participating in the design of the different features. So how did the design go for working on Mutations and Pagination?
So I think it was very similar this time to what I've been working on before, but at the same time, there's a difference. So in the past, we've been designing a lot of features for the Meteor as a framework, and at the time, we already had a pretty good cohesive story, what the API should look like, what the feel is, and how everything works together. This time, we're working on Apollo Client, which is a brand new project, and we still didn't figure out the exact feeling and the exact developer experience we want to achieve. Also, we are not necessarily sure what is the skill level of the developers that we're targeting. And another challenge that we faced was working with the community, looking at their proposed designs, making sure that everyone's opinion is included and considered. Mm-hmm. We had a great discussion with multiple community members on those features. And in the end of the day, I think we came up with a pretty good design and everyone liked it.
Yeah, it was really cool because it turned out that some of the original designs we had were definitely not as good as the stuff we came up with after like you came and worked on it and like after we talked to the community. So it's actually pretty great because sometimes getting feedback can feel like you're just kind of wasting time or like people don't tell you useful things, but like in these cases it definitely helped a lot to like get a lot of feedback.
It was really productive.
Yeah, that's really cool. And were there any classes or projects that you did in your first year of college that helped you out when you came back?
Yeah, definitely. I think for myself and for anyone in general, working on a project, working on a class with a team project, a really long-term team project, would help a lot to learn a lot of things about working in a team and implementing features with a consideration for the future. So it requires some sort of experience and maybe critical thinking in how you want to design a certain feature and lay it out in such a way that later it's compatible with future features that you just don't have time to think about right now. So for me, one of those classes was compilers class at MIT, and I don't think the knowledge about compilers particularly helped here, but just the experience of building something big and complicated with a lot of moving parts and multiple people contributing helped a lot just to collect this experience and always keeping it in the back of my mind. What will it look like when I come back to it in several months?
Okay, so another big thing that we were working on was explaining your work to other people, right? Because when you're working on these new features, it's also very important to tell people about them so that they know how to use them or that there is a new feature. So how was that for you?
Yeah, so we had multiple parts of this process of explaining what we're doing here to the wider community of developers. So first of all, it's documentation, right? Because we're working on an open source project. A lot of people use it outside. We also want to make sure that our contributors understand the designs, the ideas behind the design that we're proposing. And a lot of it comes from official documentation for our libraries. For Apollo Client, we spent like tremendous amount of effort making sure we have good examples, we explain everything well. Later, we also wrote multiple blog posts for each of the features that I worked on. I wrote a separate blog post, and I also participated in drafting of an overall GraphQL, GraphQL representation and philosophy blog post that we wrote together with David and Sashko. An interesting part of that work was forgetting everything we know about GraphQL, putting ourselves in the shoes of the developer who might be experienced with other things, but not necessarily experienced with React ecosystem and GraphQL, and trying to explain to them what makes it interesting to them to use this product, and why should they care. And I think it's something that you don't get to do working on company projects, like maybe user-facing products, because you just expect people to use it because it's so simple, right? It gives them immediate value. It could be taking pictures, could be some game. But here, developers always are very skeptical of new tools. So we need to be really, really careful telling them exactly why they should care. And a big part of it was drawing a lot of diagrams in Photoshop, and I think we've done a exciting, pretty good job about it. We have a lot of animated GIFs and trees and structures and graphs, and I really enjoyed working on that part because I felt like a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? Or 100 words, and in this case, it was exactly that. You can describe any graph structure in a mathematical language, but we're not writing papers here. We actually want people to read our stuff. So we tried our best to explain it well.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I think that's like a big difference of often at a lot of companies I know, the developers are kind of implementing the feature, and then it's somebody else's job to like market it and like explain it to people. But like in this case, because the product is so developer focused, it like has to be the developers that also explain it and like tell people about it.
Exactly, and as we talked about it before, we actually had multiple iterations of the design for all of these features. And sometimes the way it would happen, I would propose a design and think of how I would explain it in the documentation page, right? On the documentation page. And write it down on the whiteboard, sketch it out, and say, this looks too complicated, or this doesn't make sense. So we should think about it more, invest a little bit more time, and it turns out it's not a bad approach.
That's true, yeah. If something is just like really hard to document and people can't understand it, then it might not be the right design. Yeah, I really want to figure out how to apply that approach more in different places as well. Cool. So now you're going back to MIT for a second year?
Yeah.
Do you know what you're going to do in your second year yet?
Not really. Hopefully making more friends and learning exciting stuff.
Cool. All right. Thanks for coming back to Meteor.
Yeah. Great to be here.
All right.